What if you remove most humans from a startup and let AI run it? Not assist, not help it, actually run it. Should you? Today, we're breaking down whether founders should let AI run their startup and where that's genius versus completely reckless. Welcome back to another episode of Prompted, where we break down AI, startups, and tech with real operator thinking. I'm Cory. Let's get into it. So, here on Prompted, we're always asking another question. Should you let AI run a startup? I'll try to argue both sides because I think there is a truth to both. Let me start with like the bullish case of should you let AI completely run a startup? The truth is, AI can run a good chunk of stuff right now. Research, analytics, content, customer support, internal tooling, workflow automation. And like it makes sense because AI doesn't need to sleep. It doesn't need a salary. It doesn't need equity. And so if you are just building a company, so if you're an early stage founder, the leverage is crazy. And I know that for a fact because I've been building an early stage company for a while now with Six Summit, and we're using AI a ton, and I don't even feel like we're using it to its full extent. But you can build with a team of 2 that used to require a team of 10. Now, mind you, even for myself, you still need to hire people, but AI lowers the burn rate. It extends your runway. It increases the leverage. And so while I have like 8 or 9 people on our team now, what we do for a team of 8 to 9 people is probably equivalent to what would have been required for a team of like 50 or 60, even just a few years ago. So it helps tremendously. So the optimistic view about this is, why wouldn't you let AI run most of your startup? Now, here's the part people ignore a lot. AI doesn't own outcomes. It doesn't carry responsibility. AI executes logic. It has like some level of reasoning, but it does not exercise like judgment under crazy uncertainty or edge cases. And startups are inherently very uncertain. So I find that AI can break a lot on edge cases. It struggles with context and obviously like context windows. It can't feel customer trust. It can't carry long-term vision, or at least not remember it fully. It can't take responsibility when something fails. It can be the reason why something fails, but it can't take responsibility for it. That still lands on us. Because at the end of the day, someone has to own the consequences. So should you let AI run your startup? Let me now go to the negative, and I'm a AI first guy, so this is going to be interesting. But should you let it fully run your startup? My argument right now is you should let it fully run your startup to as much as you possibly can. So I don't think 100% it shouldn't run all of your startup, but you should definitely let it run parts of it. And that's a distinction most founders try to miss. They're trying to figure out how to do every single little thing across the board for their entire startup, so they don't have to hire anyone. And there's some cases where I think that can be possible, but should you? I don't think so, at least not right now. Because AI itself is still very much, we're not at AGI yet. We're getting there very, very, very close. And AI is super smart, but there's still some things that it's not great at. Like a good example is, getting AI to book into a calendar. It seems simple enough, but what a lot of people have been trying to figure out is that AI doesn't actually know what day it is, and it only knows its training data. So I'm talking about like LLM specifically. It only knows its training data. And so if you ask it like, what day it is, if it doesn't have a tool to go out and actually be like, hey, what year, day, time it is right now, it won't actually know. It'll think it's still in its training data days. And so that is, something that sounds so simple for something that does so many things that it breaks down when trying to just like book into the correct day and time. So anyways, just something to think about. Now, for me, I think there's tiers into how you can let AI run your business. Tier 1, I think like, research, data analysis, internal reporting, repetitive ops workflows, first drafts of content, basic support automation, even like lead qualification and stuff like that. I think those are all multipliers that AI can can help with. And I think you should absolutely be tackling that sort of stuff, because like there's great, like Manus is a great example. I've been trying to use it a lot more now, where now I have it every single morning. It'll go out and research the most recent AI news, and it will just send me a Slack message with that summary. So I'm always keeping up to date on like what's new in AI. So that's, just doing constant research. I also have it building a lot of like my podcast, like episodes and topics, so I can choose which topics I want to talk about in future episodes, and it does that on a weekly basis. I'm actually working now with Manus on how to edit these videos. So it can get kind of crazy, but like there are ways you can do it. And so I'm using a mix between Manus and also trying Claude Code with Remotion to see how we can create like a video editing workflow stream. But those are more complicated ones. And that actually like leads into tier 2, which is AI assists, but human decides. And so, that could be like product direction, pricing, hiring, go-to-market strategy, roadmap prioritization. Those are all things that, AI can help draft, but you ultimately need to decide where you want to go. You can get AI to make the decision for you. It might not be the best one. It might not be the one that you actually should go. And so that's where it's like AI is good at assisting with all these things, but you ultimately need to decide. Now, tier 3, to me, this is like where we start getting into leadership. So tier 3, this is like humans must own it. The vision, the culture, the capital allocation, the high risk decisions, customer trust, accountability. To me, AI should be no more than your chief of staff, but not be your CEO. Like you as a founder, you need to be the one that's building the business. You need to be the one that is making the decisions. You need to be the one that is, setting the vision where you want to go. You can ask AI for ideas on like the vision and what the culture should be, but it's up to you really to make those decisions and to actually show what it looks like. So I think AI being your chief of staff is really cool, but not your CEO. And if you treat it that way, you will win. If you treat it like, your direct digital twin that can do everything that you do, I think that's where you're going to run into some fragility with AI. So just to kind of recap a little bit, I think, should AI completely run your business? I think the short answer is not fully, but it should be running as much as possible. And I think if you can get to a point of it where it's running like 80% of your business, or at least is able to, automate 80% of every department within your business, that is pretty cool, or at least adding that much leverage. Now, let's go through some rapid fire. I've had some questions come to me recently, and I wanted to like list them out and like kind of just give my one short answer. So, first startup role AI fully replaces, to me, lead setters. I think like lead qualification is super, super easy. Someone calls into your business and you have voice AI answering it and answering the questions and getting it booked into a calendar or something, or booked it, just sent an email to the sales team or something. Yeah. So I would say lead setters. Most overhyped AI use case. I think the most overhyped AI use case right now is creating like a virtual avatar of yourself. I don't think it's as important as some people might think it is. I think it's just more cool than it is useful. I think digital voice AI is useful enough, but I don't think, creating like a full virtual avatar of yourself is all that useful right now. I think it's a little overhyped. One tool every founder should learn. One AI tool every founder should learn. For me, I think right now every founder should learn how to use Manus. I've been spending a lot of time in Manus recently trying to figure it out, how it best works. And, I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use Manus, I use all these tools. I've been trying to figure out what's the best way to use all of them. Now, for me, ChatGPT is great at generation, creating the ideas, setting up how you want things to work. But Manus is the executor. To me, Manus is really good at executing longer tasks, bigger tasks, where I find that ChatGPT still kind of falls a bit flat. So Manus I like as my general executing agent. ChatGPT is almost like my brain that helps me, generate a lot of ideas and topics and stuff like that. But Manus is where I want to execute everything. So yeah, I would say Manus. Biggest AI mistake founders make. I think the biggest mistake AI founders make is they try to over leverage and avoid hiring. It's easy to try to figure out how to use AI to just completely avoid a hire. But if it's going to mean the speed of your business, I would rather hire someone and get them to leverage AI in that role than try to completely replace it altogether. I find that a lot of founders try to spend a lot of time just trying to figure that out and like go through this huge learning curve instead of just make the hire, get them to learn it and get them to leverage it fully so that you don't have to maybe grow that team as much as possible, but maybe make that first hire regardless. Skill AI won't replace. I think trust building, relationship building. I think that one is very easy. Humans will still need to be humans. You'll still need to build relationships, and businesses still built on relationships. So, yeah, I would say relationship building. Would I invest in an AI only startup with no humans? I would. Mostly because I'm curious to see if it would even work. But I would absolutely invest in an AI only startup with no humans. All right. Now, before we wrap up, I do want to talk about the AI trend of the week. And this has really been the trend of the month, I think. A lot of people have been talking about Claude Code. And it's something that I've dove into a little bit more as well. I think it's absolutely necessary that everyone learns how to code now. All it really takes is knowing English and knowing a bit about architecture and how things work together. But not having to fully understand each line of code is not as important anymore. And so to me, I think learn how to use Claude Code because you can use it. You can use it in a terminal. You can use the Claude desktop app itself, which has like co-work chat and code. If you use an IDE like Cursor or VS Code, you can actually just add Claude Code as an extension and just use it in there. I've been trying everything. I've been using it in Cursor. I've been using Claude Code, just the actual desktop app itself as well too. And specifically, I've been actually playing around a lot with different skills. So the skills I've been trying to work through is using Remotion, which is like a video generating skill, and actually be able to create like intro videos and different promotional videos and stuff like that, just purely using Claude Code. So it's super cool. You can create like sub agents that do a bunch of things. So I've made like a bunch of sub agents that can like review my code, that can like push stuff to GitHub, that can create documentation, all this sort of stuff. So you can do a bunch of different things with Claude Code. So I think that's one of the coolest trends right now. I think you should definitely get into it and try learning it, create some really awesome stuff. I would even start just personally for yourself. One of my first projects that I started was actually just creating like a habit tracker. I have my 5 daily non-negotiables, and there are habit apps out there. I was like, well, why don't I just create my own? And so I used Claude Code and I created my own habit tracker just as a test. So try stuff like for yourself personally first, see how it works, and then you can start getting into more complicated things. So to close up, AI isn't replacing founders, but founders who leverage AI will replace those who don't. And that's the biggest shift. That's why I keep saying, go learn Manus, go learn Claude Code, go watch videos on how to do it, go ask AI on how to use it. That's kind of how I got started. And that's how our team is operating as well too. We're just constantly trying to learn and absorb on how to do different things. If this gave you something to think about, share it with another founder, because AI is not going away and how we leverage it is not going away. And it's important that AI will do a lot of things with our business, but it might not be everything right now. Thank you for listening to this episode today. I will see you on the next episode of Prompted next week. Peace.